Hey there, thanks for stopping by to see our clinical debrief. This is group number 4, Haley, Hannah, and this is Monica. We're going to touch on 3 areas that we explored in class: assessments, interdisciplinary teaching, and modeling and representation. In terms of assessments, we learned that the process of assessing students throughout a unit is way more effective than giving them one test at the end of the unit. We also learned about 3 different types of these assessments: the diagnostic assessment, the formative assessment, and the summative assessment. By continuously assessing student learning and understanding, we teachers have a much better handle on where students are, and allows us to better modify our lessons. So we can determine as we move through the unit whether or not we need to do any reteaching. We can also determine whether or not we need to move quickly over particular content areas because of background knowledge. The other thing that these assessments help us do is to flexibly group students throughout the unit, being able to move them, put one group together to get a little bit more time with the concept, and then once some of those students have achieved that, we can move them into a different group and continue to support. Also be able to identify good peers to be able to put with some of the other students to help grow all learners. Using ongoing assessments is even more critical in this virtual and concurrent teaching and learning environment that we're all in. In the 3rd grade class that I was in this year, we used a lot of formative assessments in science, social studies, and we used exit tickets or polls at the end of every math class. And once we started doing that, we definitely were able to better get a sense of where students were. Not only that, we had much greater student participation during those sessions, and students were paying attention much better in class, which of course is always a hard thing to gauge when we are just looking at computers. The other important thing about using assessments, especially virtually, is just to make sure that they are geared towards the students in the room. So not only geared towards the grade level that we're teaching in, but also to the students that are in the room. So if there's students who are English language learners, making sure that they're able to access all of the assessments, as well as any other students who may have other learning differences in the room.
Interdisciplinary teaching essentially integrates different subjects into science lessons, helping students to comprehend concepts that are being taught to them by connecting it to other areas of learning. This can be done by using experiments and projects to allow students to figure out how to solve a problem, and instead of focusing on failure, trying to figure out how to make it work. This creates a better understanding of the concept. Also, connecting concepts to the real world makes an impact on students and helps it kind of stick into their brains. Some ways that teachers can do this are by creating experiments for the students to do that explore on something like a book character or a person in history they're learning about to help create a better understanding, not in just science, but in both subject areas. Also, another way to do this is to introduce scientists that have changed history either by their inventions or discoveries, and also by representing a diverse background in scientists. This way, students can have a better outlook on the subject, and it can also encourage them to want to learn and do more. So, some ways I've seen my mentor use the interdisciplinary teaching strategy in her lessons is by using art a lot. She has the students draw things they've observed in nature, like when she taught them about the changing in plants and animals. She also makes connections back to math by using charts to track the weather when she taught about weather. Something I thought that was really cool was that she taught about Marie Curie for National Women's Day, and she focused on her discoveries in cancer treatments, which really helped the students to make a connection back to the real world, as everybody's dealt with someone in their family or someone they know that has cancer.
This week, for our clinical debrief, I decided to focus on modeling and representations. Specifically for the Here's What, I focused on the grades 3 through 5 progressions, and there are 6 of them that students go through. Modeling and representation helps students start to use sense making and problem solving, they'll start becoming more comfortable in their own ideas, and it helps them start to be able to share their own ideas and thoughts and be comfortable doing that and being confident in doing that as well. Now moving on to the so what. Within the articles, it talked about how teachers can use stations or learning centers in order to have them play with material and knowledge that will help them in the future make models. Some different tools for developing and using models includes diagrams, drawing, physical replicas, and etc. And there are 4 stages for using models to teach science, and that includes planning for engagement with important science ideas, eliciting students' ideas, supporting ongoing changes in thinking, and pressing for evidence-based explanations. Moving on to the now what, I observed in my mentor's classroom model making with stations. She utilized stations for 2 days, and then after the 2 days put students in groups to then make a model on a cell based off of them using microscopes and other outlets online. And then I saw her utilize progression number 2, which I mentioned earlier, of grades 3 through 5. She used this progression when she had the students make a Roy G. Biv wavelength model and had them keep it in their journals for later use for studying. Personally, for my classroom, I really want to focus on using modeling to support critical thinking, especially in science, and using their models and representations by calling them by their names, like, for example, John's way or Jessica's way, to give them ownership of their ideas. For the summary of our student teaching, Haley did her mini unit as the plant parts, and she'll be teaching in her classroom soon. I did investigating the oceans, and I can't teach it in the classroom because of the teacher being online/in person. Monica's is spring into change, and she can't teach it within the classroom because of the same circumstances.